Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me this evening are Cryptic.
Ah, crap! You didn't say I was going to be first. Hi.
Camel.
Good evening.
Adam.
Hello.
And Skeptock.
Hi, everybody. I'm not Cryptic. He said that the minions with me tonight are Cryptic. And that's not really true. One of them is.
Well, there's commas in between each of those, because you aren't Camel either. But, yes, how are all of you guys doing this evening?
I don't know. Caramelized scripting.
Jointly or severally?
I'd say start individually, and then we can work from there.
Oh.
So, let's go Cryptic first. That way I can put him on the spot again.
Look, I'm good this time. I'm okay. How is everybody else?
And then we'll go around to Camel.
Can't complain.
Then Adam.
There
we go.
Yo. No, sorry. Wait, what was the question?
How are you doing today?
Oh, yo.
I'll have what he's having.
Yeah. Let's share it.
So apparently Adam is you today. And how about you, Skep? How you doing?
I actually had a really good day today. My wife has left me for the weekend to go visit her daughter up in Idaho.
I was about to say, hopefully there's a caveat to that opening statement.
Well, yes, it's not the colloquial, my wife has left me. But anyway, she has left me alone to my own devices.
Left you unsupervised.
This is the only time I get to eat lamb because she cannot stand the smell of lamb. And I love a nice big old leg of lamb or a lamb roast. And I cook it rare.
Nice.
I eat it like a barbarian, blood dripping down what I'm pleased to call a beard. And it was just glorious. I fixed all the things she can't stand to smell. So I fixed my curried artichokes, and I had 2 good Castroville artichokes. That's for you, Harry. Harry knows about the fame of Castroville artichokes, Castroville, California. And that was a nice, sumptuous repast. About a pound and a half of lamb, 2 huge artichokes, just perfectly done in the curry butter thing that I make. And I don't usually get to do that. And I rub down the lamb with rosemary and olive oil and did all the laborious searing that you got to do with like lamb.
Yeah, I'm going to be having lamb this week as well.
I
have some lamb chops that I'm going to be doing.
Oh yeah, you gonna grill them?
Sadly don't have a grill handy at my apartment. But
it's still a bit cold up there too.
Yep, I do have a screaming hot cast iron griddle that I can use.
Yeah, like a Dutch oven or something. Either that or you could, there's a lot of ways to cook them. It's really good.
And then I also, in order to get some of that smoky flavor without being able to throw it on an actual grill, I do have my smoking gun, so I'll be able to get really nice sear on it in the cast iron, make sure that it cooks through to the right temperature. As it's resting, pop it under the cloche for the smoking gun and just hit it with some nice smoke, get some flavor permeating that way. It'll be a really good meal, or 2 meals with the amount of lamb that I purchased.
And so, anyway, yes, it was leg of lamb for 2 for 1 tonight.
Very nice.
It was done in Brobdingnagian proportions, and I am just a full, happy old guy tonight.
Nice.
I'm relaxed in my recliner, all set up here, cold drink at my side, covered with dogs. All's well with the world. So thanks for asking. How was your day, Sanguine?
My day went rather well. I woke up after getting a fair bit of sleep. Didn't wake up until 6 p.m., but then just dicked around and did it about updating my food porn Instagram for that. Then I have the salmon that I'm going to be making for dinner tonight, which I've pulled out. I marinated it in some white miso and koji. That's going to be seared off in that screaming hot cast iron skillet that I mentioned earlier. I have rice currently cooking. I have some umeboshi. It's aka umeboshi that I just made. Or not just made, but just mashed up and left one of them just split in half so that that can be used more as presentation. Also, they're just absolutely delicious. For those who don't know, umeboshi is Japanese salt pickled plums. So they end up salty and just insanely tart and delicious.
What are these?
Umeboshi, Japanese salt pickled plums.
So they're kind of like salty balls.
Not quite, but they are, depending on whether you get the large umeboshi or the small umeboshi. The small umeboshi are probably about a nickel's diameter sphere.
Mm-hmm.
That, well, actually, no, sorry, it's, yeah, nickel's diameter sphere for the small ones. There's
So
a pit,
swallow
so you
size. Yeah.
move the pit from it, you mash it up, you mix it into rice, you slather it on a piece of meat. You can use it in a
Yes.
bunch of different ways.
Excellent.
And then the large ones will be more along the size of like a chestnut in their overall size.
There's so
same
many
things.
interesting things that Oriental cooks use as kind of like meta food.
Mhm.
You know, that it's never presented. It may never be presented as a finished product, but it's critically important to lots and lots of different foods. You know, things like what you're talking about.
Oh, with the umeboshi, you can eat them straight. if
Well,
you want.
I realize some of them you can eat
Yep.
straight, but there are other things like you wouldn't drink fish sauce, for example.
Oh, no.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
And same thing with koji. Koji is a fermented rice compound that then you use to marinate meat or make pickles and things like that. So I have the white miso koji salmon. I have the umeboshi that I'm going to be mixing into the rice. I have asparagus that I'm just going to do very simply. Toss into a screaming hot skillet, add in a little bit of butter, a little bit of garlic, splash on a bit of shoyu, sesame oil and chili oil, done and dusted with that, which will be amazing. And then Cryptic mentioned quick pickles before the stream, which made me remember I have Koji quick pickles that I made a while ago. So now I'm going to have some Koji quick pickles on the side of my dinner as well. And there's just something, I'm not sure what the insane alchemy behind Koji quick pickles and alcohol is, but Koji quick pickles make beer and sake and soju and just any alcohol that you consume while eating them tastes that much better.
Man,
It is fantastic.
I'm looking at this Shiokoji pickles recipe,
Yep.
and this looks awesome.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, you just do
It's
the
just salted and soaked rice. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep. So you take your cucumber, you cut it up how you choose. So you can either do the standard circular pickle slices, you can do the long pickle slices, or you can do, I'm trying to remember the name for the type of slice. There's a specific type of Japanese cut that is irregularly regular or perhaps regularly irregular shapes that you get from cutting vegetables. So they're all the same size, but they all look different. And you can do that sort of cut, make some quick pickles out of it. All it is you salt the cucumber, you add in some koji, you add in a little bit of rice vinegar, and you just let it work its magic. And it is amazing.
It's an interesting thing. I'm reading about what Koji does. The enzymes in it break proteins
Yep.
down. And when you get the amino acids in that environment, you're going to get glutamate salts. And that's where you get the umami from. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I did not know that till this stream. Thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, it is an amazing ingredient because you can do all kinds of things like it. One of my favorite types of salmon now is Shiokoji Salmon, which is just a little bit of salt, some koji slathered on salmon, let it marinate like that for a day or so, and then just real quick sear it up, and it's done. Oh, God, it's amazing.
Interesting.
And
so these are actually partially fermented.
Yep. Yeah, the koji paste is a salty fermented rice paste.
Yeah, it says taste now and then it should be sweet and salty with a pleasant smell. It may start off too salty, but fermentation will sweeten it somewhat, at least at first.
Yep.
When you detect the sweetness, pop the jar into the fridge for use, and you've got 6 months to use it.
Yeah, and it is absolutely amazing. Like I said, if you haven't had the chance to try koji and you see it someplace, give koji a shot. You can use it for all kinds of things: fish, meat, vegetables. It's fantastic. And the way that you use it is it's 10 to 20% of the weight of whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it says the golden ratio for Shiokoji for any vegetable is 1 to 10. So, yeah, 10%.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's 1 to 10 for a vegetable, and then it's 10 to 20 for meat. I could be slightly off. It might be 10 to 15. It's somewhere in that range, though.
It says just keep in mind this is very salty.
Yep. So you don't really add any salt other than the Shiokoji, unless it's a big thing, and then you can add a little bit, like you do when you're doing Shiokoji salmon. You get a decent sized bit of salmon, you rub the koji on, and then you just sprinkle a little bit of salt. Not much, just the slightest amount, and it is fantastic.
Interesting thing about when you use the Shiokoji to pickle a cucumber, it pickles the cucumber in 20 minutes.
Yep.
Did not know that. You pickle green beans in a couple of hours. Carrots take overnight. Interesting stuff. I think I'm going to mess around with this.
Yeah, and it is... That's why when I was talking about the quick pickles that I do, pretty much every time that you do it, you just need maybe 30 minutes in order to get a really amazing flavor for your quick pickle. And that's if it's not just cucumber. If it's cucumber, like you said, it can be done in 20 minutes.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. It's, cucumbers are basically bags of water.
Yep.
Doesn't take much. They're very, very permeable water-filled cells. Very easy to move that through there. Carrots are a little more tightly constructed. I'm looking at this prep. Now I'm wanting some kimchi. I can't possibly be hungry, but this is for Baiku kimchi. And this is the you could do this. They say that it will ferment in 5 normal days or 3 hot days. And
that's a quick kimchi.
Let me just see where we're doing this. Where are they doing during the cabbage? Yeah. I should keep this bold to ferment. Yeah, this is room temperature fermentation. This is not the traditional method. I was going to say, because the traditional method, they leave it in the ground for 5 weeks. Yeah, at least a month, and and then you get the because you get that special texture that makes kimchi just so amazing and wonderful. Freaks some people out, but yeah.
And it gives it time for all those flavors just to marry so beautifully.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the heat goes all the way through it. It's you can heat it when you want to, but anyway.
All this talk of kimchi just reminded me of there's a Korean restaurant near me that I tried a type of alcohol that I've never had before while I was there, which is MotZ. It's the Korean, effectively sparkling, almost sake, but it's a lower alcohol content. It's like a rice beer.
Korean rice beer?
It's a Korean rice beer, but it's more fermented almost as a wine, just it has the alcohol content of like a beer. So that's 6 to 9%.
And what is it called?
MotZ. It's M-A-K.
No, it's makgeolli. That's what you're thinking.
Oh, makgeolli?
Makgeolli.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce that.
Okay.
That's what I thought you were talking about. All right.
Clue how to pronounce it. But yes.
And that's all the Korean I know.
Okay. Yeah, it is absolutely delicious. I tried it while I was there, and now I'm just jonesing for it, and I think that's the only place that I can get it, so I'm going to be going back to get more.
Did you have the kind that had the chunks in it? The sediment and stuff, and the seeds, and all that stuff?
The one that I had didn't have any of the sediment in it. It was a rather homogeneous mix, but it was delicious.
Interesting.
And yes, texture is absolutely a big part of any meal experience.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why there's some things that I can understand why people could like the flavors, but the textures are just so off-putting to me that I can't eat them. And one of them is something that almost everyone else seems to enjoy. Cooked carrots. I can't fucking stand cooked carrots. Carrots are supposed to crunch and just be entire crunch. Cooked carrots, their texture's wrong. No. Why are you doing this to lovely carrots?
Do you object to the heat of the cooked carrots or just their softness?
It's the texture. It is entirely the texture.
Yeah, it breaks down the salt texture. I get it, and I agree with you.
Hold on. Sanguine. So
yes,
don't you think that this could also apply to my view or a taste on onions?
Which is why I'm saying that since you have a problem more with the onions having that uncooked note to it, because I doubt that you're saying that you want to just eat a raw onion.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, if you like super nuke fry an onion and put it on like green bean casserole, that's pretty good. I haven't tried a blooming onion, but like Funyuns, I don't like Funyuns because those are nasty anyways. Yeah,
fine dining without them.
I know,
but that's why I'm saying you should give a chance to really jammy cooked down onions, because it gets rid of that sulfurous note to the onion, and it's just this ridiculously sweet, delicious flavor.
Look, at this point, the only reason I'm willing to eat an onion is for personal reasons. Other than that, no, yeah, dude, get the fuck out of here. And hey, you know what? Isn't there a caramelized carrot that you could eat?
Yes, you can do candied carrots, and if they're done right, they still have a crunch.
But you can also do carrots. You can just blanch them.
Yep.
That's what I do with carrots. If I'm if I want them hot at all. And I'm like you. I like raw carrots. I just like the taste of carrots.
Carrots
Eat them that
should
way.
snap and crunch.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Actually, it's part of their charm. And there's nothing sadder than a carrot that has been cooked to the point of having lost the will to live.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why if there's a dish there's a lot of dishes that fall in this category that are improved by carrot being involved in the cooking process, I always remove them before I actually plate up whatever I'm making. Like stews. A bit of carrot being used in the stew, delicious. You get that nice flavor for your actual stew. But I don't want to get a cooked carrot bobbing in the stew. So either I'll grate the carrot into the stew. That way it just gets incorporated and kind of dissolves into the stew. And I don't get it's a cooked carrot sensation. Or
you wouldn't want to have that.
I'll fish them out before I plate it up because cooked carrots are just an abomination.
It's just cooking carrots is an art, and most people overcook them. That's the sad thing.
You know what? This is just reminding me of I was watching Djibouti dubs of amusement parks, and they were talking about mushroom soup and
mushroom soup.
how. Wait, is there a difference between soup and stew? Kinda same thing, right?
Stew is thicker,
Like
soup
thicker,
is
right?
thinner.
Usually mushroom. Okay, so in terms of like Renaissance fairs, do you think that's more of a mushroom stew or stew?
It can go either way.
I
You
guess
can have mushroom stews and you can have mushroom soups.
because
A stew's cooked for a longer period of time. It tends to be reduced a lot more. A soup
You want to
is
cook them.
much
Cook them
faster.
at a low temperature if you're using mushrooms, because too high a temperature will break down the mescaline.
And God damn it, Skep. Different sort of mushroom. But the mushrooms, the thing that always drives me crazy whenever I see mushrooms included in a recipe is the number of people that will add mushrooms like halfway through the cooking process of everything else. And why the fuck are you doing it? You're doing it wrong. You add mushrooms first. You let them cook in a dry or very lightly oiled pan so that they give up some of the moisture. You throw in a bit of salt, they give up their moisture, they start to actually color, their flavor concentrates, and then you do everything else with them. Then you can throw them in a stew, and then you get these nice, flavorful bites of mushroom. Whereas if you throw them in partway through the cooking, you just end up with these almost flavorless kind of pencil eraser textured things within your dish. No, cook them first, get some color, get some flavor, and then have them marry with everything else.
Holy shit! Wait, do you think they make a mushroom and onion soup?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh god.
Absolutely, I've got a recipe for that.
Yeah. That's a very common.
Yeah, it's basically almost like a French onion soup with mushrooms added.
Mm-hmm.
I like it made with a clear broth. Really like
Did they add potatoes to it?
No,
You can?
never. It's illegal in France.
You wouldn't do that in a French dish, but you can do it in other dishes. So, you do have potato and onion soups in France. You have potato and leek soups, of course, like the vichyssoise. And then you have the, in my opinion, superior version, which is Colcannon soup, which is Irish. And Colcannon soup is just... Oh,
What's
good
a
God, it's
Colcannon?
amazing. Colcannon soup is potato and leek and cabbage soup. So
It's also heaven.
yes, it is
It really is good.
amazing. So colcannon is a mashed potato side dish, effectively, where it is potatoes, cabbage, then either leek or green onion, and it's mashed together with heavy cream, lots of butter, a bit of salt.
They make it with shallots sometimes.
Yep, you can also do shallots. Any onion member or any member of the onion family that's kind of that finer flavor. So you wouldn't do it with like a Spanish onion or anything like that. But
You can use
leeks-
Vidalia,
yeah, you could do really
like
sweet,
a really
but
sweet onion. Yeah.
then you would also want to cut it into really fine slices rather than allowing it to
Absolutely.
be chunks.
Yeah, but
So you-
even so, it's a great dish, and
Yep.
it's a wonderful dish on a, when you're just been out in the yard working and you just want to
Mhm.
eat something that sticks to your ribs.
So
It's good.
you make the colcannon, and then one thing that you can do when you have leftover colcannon is you can make colcannon soup. What you do is you throw your leftover colcannon into a pot. You add some chicken stock. You break up the colcannon into the chicken stock. You let that cook down a bit. Add some heavy cream. Let it thicken a bit more, and then you just spoon that out into a bowl, and you have hot colcannon soup, and it is fucking amazing. Top that up with a bit of fried up corned beef or some cottage bacon, some standard rashers of bacon, anything like that. Oh my god. Like an absolute
Google
pig
says-
in shit.
Google say that stews are not good for you. They say that on cold days you may find yourself craving warming foods, and a thick, hearty stew can be the ultimate comfort meal. But popular stew additions such as salt, fatty cuts of meat, and refined carbs like white rice or pasta can quickly fill up your bowl and stomach with no nutritional value
And
and
to
hurt
that,
your health.
I say, Google, you can kindly get fucked.
It's just interesting to see the
That's good
narrative
news.
spilling over into the search results.
Yep, that they're trying to say, well, because it has meat and it has butter and fatty. No, get fucked. It tastes amazing. I'm eating stew.
Do you know that Irish stew is the national dish of Ireland? I did not know that. It makes sense, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember hearing that when I was in Ireland. I believe.
It's supposed to be made with mutton,
Yep.
which explains my preference for British stew, which is or beef stew, or English style beef stew, which is with beef.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer beef to mutton. I like lamb. I don't like mature sheep. I don't like mature dead sheep. It's just I don't like the taste of mutton. It's too lamby.
I like both, but I'm annoyed with how we don't really have that nomenclature in the U.S., unfortunately.
No, we're very confused about lamb. Just go
Yeah.
try and buy a cut of lamb sometime.
Because I wish that we had the designation of this is a milk lamb, this is
Right.
hogget, this is mutton.
Spring lambs and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Because they have very different textures. They're not all the same thing. You use them in different ways.
Yep.
And yeah, Kokonoe, I am right there with you. Ask me if I fucking care if they say that stew's bad for me. I love stew.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I don't know why, but this is how my brain worked. You guys, I know Skep knows this. Do the rest of you know what rabbit starvation is?
Isn't that like, rabbit's so lean that if you were just eating it, you would still lose weight?
Yes.
Wouldn't get enough nutrients or something like that?
If you're just eating rabbit, it is not sufficient in order to actually sustain your life. So you eventually die of starvation while eating your fill of rabbit. Because it is nutrient poor.
It's what happens when you eat so much. You get a whole bunch of amino acids, but you're lacking a certain set of nutrients. Is that the same as protein poisoning? I think that's actually what that's called.
Let me quickly double check. I thought that it was effectively protein poisoning plus a lack of sufficient.
I think what you're talking about is protein poisoning. I may be wrong. It's been a while since I've thought about rabbit starvation. I wonder how many years.
I think I probably only thought about rabbit starvation twice, and that's because somebody else brought it up.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been thinking about the rabbit starvation for quite some times.
And you are right, Skep. It is the proper name of rabbit starvation.
Oh, okay.
I needed
protein
to
poisoning.
double check because I wasn't sure if protein poisoning had the insufficient fat built into it or whether it was effectively rabbit starvation halfway and then the insufficient fat was the other half. But it turns out that no, protein poisoning is just that overabundance of amino.
What does it do to you? I can't remember what it does to you.
I think it destroys the liver.
Okay, so it's hepatotoxic, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
It destroys the liver and just causes effectively universal wasting because your body tries to process all of its fat stores regardless of what form that fat store is. And there's a reason why white matter is white.
But at any rate, the cool thing about liver failure and dying of liver failure is you gork first. So you at least entertain the staff on the way out.
Nice.
When I was, this is a true story, just getting ready to graduate from Oscar Candidate School, I came down with pneumonia, flat on my back in the hospital for 2 weeks. I almost died of pneumonia. They were going to roll me back, but they let me take 3 of my finals in my hospital bed. That's no kidding. I took my naval engineering final in the hospital bed. And anyway, oh shit! I forgot where I was going with that story because it was leading up. What were we?
Rabbit starvation.
Rabbit starvation and all that stuff. Well, at any rate,
It was the liver failure.
yeah, the liver failure. Oh, that's where this was. You don't get a private room when you're basically in E4, and you get a ward in a Navy hospital, and I was on a ward, and the guy right across from me in the bed was dying of alcohol poisoning. He had been told your liver's just about to go. You cannot get drunk, not even one more time. He got drunk one more time. And I got to watch this guy gork for about a week before he finally had the consideration, frankly, to pass away.
Damn.
10 feet away from my rack. And he howled and screamed the whole time. It will scare the shit out of you about an alcoholic death. It really will.
That's why I intend to never suffer one. So, some of you have been very quiet thus far. Do you guys have anything that you want to chime in on? Any stories that you're dying to talk about? Any of you hear about the latest in the BLM was a money laundering scheme story?
When did you not think that?
Oh, I always thought it.
When
but
in this lifetime did you ever not think that was nothing but a scam?
Oh, I thought it since I heard it started, but the evidence that has been coming out is just, oh my fucking god, you didn't even try to hide this shit.
The funny thing is they thought they were being quite sly, you know.
Yep.
We'll put it in the name of a company that doesn't really exist. That'll fool them.
So, have the rest of you heard about this recent news from that? Or do you want the rundown of what's happened?
Okay,
didn't,
What? News
Oh,
of
go
what?
ahead, Adam.
Oh, I was going to say news of what?
Well, the TLDR is that Black Lives Matter, a lady named, I think her name is Patricia Cullors.
Patrice.
Patrice Cullors, something like that.
Yep. Patrice
Went out and paid over asking price for a $3 million mansion. And then a few days later sold it, marked it up and sold it to Black Lives Matter for $3 million profit. And it's way out of the market comp. It's going to be very easy to prove. They might even get them on racketeering. These guys could be facing federal prosecution.
Actually slightly worse than what you just said, Skep, because it was a house that was supposed to be 1.5 million.
Yeah,
and
they paid 3, and then they marked it up to 6, right? Is that what I remember?
Did a 300% increase when they sold it to BLM. And they paid, I want to say it was just shy of 2.
What this means, what this has the effect of doing, boys and girls, from a fiscal point of view, is that these clowns, when they did that, extracted $3 million, or actually $6 million, $3 million extra dollars of what had been charitable money in the hands of a charitable organization, a non-government organization, charitable outfit, ostensibly Black Lives Matter. And then it passes, that money passes from that charitable organization to the person who sold that house that she bought a few days before for $3 million less than she sold the house to them. So that is like embezzling $3 million from Black Lives Matter. It's patently obvious what's going on. It's the easiest case on earth. First year law student makes that case 100% of the time.
And did you hear her response to that news coming out?
Oh yeah, that she was triggered and this wasn't a safe space anymore because of all these nonprofit things and filing the 99s that they have to file, both the quarterly and the annual. There's 5 reports you got to file if you're a nonprofit association. There's 4 quarterly reports and the annual report, and that didn't make her feel safe. I was thinking to myself, you shouldn't feel safe. You should feel more like a convict. That's what you should feel like, not safe. Convict, yes. Safe, no.
She tried to pull this is putting activists' lives in danger.
Yeah. No. We see what you're doing. See, we're not as stupid as you are. You were stupid, greedy, found yourself sitting on what you thought was a big, beautiful diamond, and you just thought you'd cash in. And what you did was you just ruined your life. She needs to go away for a long time for pulling that kind of a stunt.
Oh, yeah. Especially since this is, the 3rd or 4th instance of, you aren't just guilty. You're guilty as hell.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And they'll try and make you look at other things. I think that's why this interest in the Grand Rapids police shooting has been revived suddenly. I think that was Black Lives Matter sending up the bat signal. Hey, we need a distraction.
I'm trying to remember which one's the Grand Rapids shooting, because there's 3 shootings.
That's the guy who said traffic stop, new cop, traffic stop. The guy wouldn't follow instructions, got into a shoving match and then a wrestling match with a policeman.
And then got the taser. Okay,
yeah, and he says, "Give me, let go of my taser, let me go of my taser." Fine, I'm going to shoot you in the head. Boom, and he just fucking took him out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was that one or there's been 2 others that I've heard about recently. That
have you watched that tape of the Grand Rapids?
Yep.
What do you think about that?
I think that it was fairly clear that it was lawful but awful, that it was something that is entirely above board. It sucks that it had to happen, but he played a stupid game. He won a stupid prize. Because the moment that he started grabbing the taser and refused to release the taser, that police officer, even if he had fired the taser already, because he did fire the taser in the chase, there's two things that could be the case. It's either one of the tasers that it has a second fire, because some police tasers have 2 fires before reload. Or, even if it wasn't one of those, there's something called dry tasing, which still makes it so that it's dangerous. And the police officer has duty to not be incapacitated, because if he gets incapacitated, suddenly everything that's on him is now exposed
owned by the bad guy.
To the offender.
You know, the guy acted like he was having trouble communicating with the officer. Do you think the officer had a duty to be able to communicate with him? I understand he was from the Congo, so that would be what, Lingala or maybe Kakongo? Probably Kakongo if it's from the north, but if it's from the south, so shouldn't that officer have been fluent in Kakongo and Lingala languages so that they could talk to this citizen who was just going about his business?
That is completely above and beyond anything that could reasonably be demanded of the officer. Also, that's
racist. That's racist.
Also, the officer did ask, "You can speak and understand English?" And the offender said, "Yes, I can." And that's when it continued on from there.
Did he also say, "Yes, I can," when the guy asked him his name?
No, he did not. He just refused.
No, I know he didn't. I saw the thing. He obviously could speak English. That just pisses me off, because I've heard some of these activists coming out and saying, well, he was new to the country. He was, a fresh immigrant. Yeah, who stole somebody's license plate rather than, he didn't have any money to register his car. Okay.
Did he also not have enough money to buy a taser, so he decided he'd steal one from the police? Because that was a bad decision.
He may have thought that the policeman wanted to engage in ritual wrestling, that it was a custom in America to wrestle like that with new arrivals. He may have thought this was a harmless welcome prank.
Somehow, I don't think that that's a viable interpretation.
You're going to hear nonsense that is that silly coming from the other side over this. And I saw that Ben Crump had already decamped to Grand Rapids to console the family in their time of wrongful death suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, there have been 2 or 3 shootings that I've heard people try to make a stake over recently.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them I've seen the video of, and I've been going, okay, how the fuck is anyone trying to argue that this was unlawfully done? Like, you've seen the one at the wedding, right?
Yep.
That was one of the other ones that people are trying to make hay over. And I'm going, he knocked out the first officer, knocked him out cold, took the officer like a good 30 seconds to get off the ground after coming to again. He started trying to knock out the second officer, which is when the second officer went, if both of us get knocked out, we're fucking dead. Bang, 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 bang.
Oh, probably just bang, bang.
It was 7 shots.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it. I haven't had a lot of training in that stuff.
Well, can we also acknowledge the context of which we're in? I mean, we're not in the year 2000. We're not in the year 1990. Currently there's a really
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know it's crazy. It's I mean,
Shit, I just went to sleep. What happened?
well, you were playing Jumanji, and
We're
unfortunately,
in current year +6 now.
This guy with a bugle.
I mean, we just went through a point, especially in the area that this transpired. We went through a period where the police units were how do you say it, monstricized or something like that. You know, like they were
Ostracized.
Demonized.
demonized. Yeah, there you go. See, a mixture of both of them, and so any interaction with them is going to have a negative effect right off the bat for a lot of people who are just receiving small bits of information. So what we're looking at right now is, that's the situation happened, but it doesn't matter. There's already the kindlelight for the police are bad, and they're doing is going out there killing people, and then for police, why did he do that? Why did he unload 7 rounds? Well, because his job is to go and interact with these people who think that cops are going around killing people right on the street. So he knows that they're not going to hold back either. Like they're probably going to look at it like, shit, if he's going to try and kill me, I'm going to try and kill him first. It wasn't just like yesterday everything was peachy creams, everything was cool. It's we've been rolling up to this point. This is not a new thing.
And the thing is, when you're in a situation like that where you've just seen your partner get knocked the fuck out, and now the guy is trying to bash your head into the concrete, you're going to immediately go into get this fucker away from me mode, and you will start to fire, and you will continue to fire until the threat is entirely gone.
Yeah.
That's how that shit works, and that's how they're also trained, because that's what you're supposed to do. You don't just go, bang, you done? Because the person, if they aren't done, could kill you while you wait to see if they're done. So you fire until they're down, and then you stop firing.
And it's one of those things where it's like, if it was regular people, I can understand the sentiment of like, oh shit, I don't know what to do. But these are law enforcement, like when he saw his partner getting hit, it was one of those, this dude doesn't give a shit about, respecting the law, or
This
at
dude's
least
probably willing to kill me.
Yeah, if he's willing to hit my partner, I don't think it's too far out the realm that he wouldn't bash my brains in. Like that's just one of those things. It's like, and like I said, this is not a normal thing. We got to this point. It slowly rolled to this point, and unfortunately, now people are seeing it, and it's like, well, this is. We got here because there's plenty of times where we could have said, hey, we need to change something about this. Nobody did. Or at least they tried, and, obviously, I'm not going to lie. You want to talk about the effectiveness of the voting block? Yeah, well, we could talk about that on Sunday.
Yeah, it's just infuriating because the officer in the wedding one absolutely did everything right in that instance. They tried to talk the guy down. They tried to move the situation away from the really crowded area into a less crowded area. That way there'd be fewer people involved. They tried to get his fucking sister to stop amping everything up. Then an officer got knocked out. The second officer started getting pummeled, and in order to avoid getting knocked out himself, he reacted in a way to save himself and his partner. That's entirely right. Everything that he did was right in that scenario.
I hadn't seen this wedding video when I'd only seen a short clip of the one. Was it Grand Rapids?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the
So-
one that Skep was referring to first.
Yeah, I only saw that. I think Monkey played on a stream a few nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been keeping track of the different stories like that.
Yeah, the first bit that came out for the Grand Rapids one was part of the video of the bystander. So it didn't show everything. Took a while for the full body cam to come out. And then, Skep, you still there? I'm going to mute Skep because I think he ended up dozing.
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still listening.
Okay. I heard deep, slow breathing, so...
Oh
Thought it
no
might
no
have been
no
you.
no! I was actually watching the body cam of the
Ah.
shooting
Okay.
with the and that looked like a pretty good shoot. Lawful but awful, as you would say.
Yep.
That guy, that officer was laid out.
Yeah. The first officer in that wedding one knocked
Yeah.
the fuck out, and he didn't get back up until after everything had happened.
I think what you're going to see here is a time in which, when certain circumstances are present at a police shooting and there is a death, it's just going to be normal to immediately file a wrongful death suit against the police department, and there's going to be an expectation on the part of the plaintiff that it will be settled as a, there's this sense of we should be getting reparations kind of a thing, and so send some money our way, and if you don't, you're just you're just doing the same thing you've done to us for centuries now. You're just hurting us more. One of our guys got out of hand. One of our guests got out of hand. You killed him. Where's my $1 million? It's just a really sick dynamic going on right now. I don't know how we work our way out of it.
The way that we work our way out of it is we have to get better at withholding any judgment until all the evidence comes out. Because the first thing...
that's not going to happen. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
That would be nice if we could do that. But what can we do that's realistic?
Well, for everyone not directly involved, it unfortunately becomes you have to sit out your decision and say, yeah, I'm going to take this with a massive grain of salt.
Well, see, I'm less concerned about the direct participants. That kind of drama comes up in human life sometimes. It's the Benjamin Crumps of the world, the internationally respected civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump.
Is he the only attorney? Because he's the only one I ever hear of when there's some kind of case.
Yeah, there are other attorneys, but they tend to work for people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, and they have their own sucker-like appendages to affix to the bank accounts of the participants, and their own blackmail demands. But yeah, Benjamin Crump is he's the black attorney who goes out and vigorously pursues the causes of the plaintiffs in these wrongful death and civil rights type cases.
But hold on,
oftentimes his side is a good side. Oftentimes he's got a case, but he's always there to be the advocate for that side, and only
he's there, right, wrong, indifferent.
Right, exactly.
Well, he's there, but I also see that a lot of it is you got to look at, I guess, the base of it. You know, it's the people who aren't really that informed of what's going on. They're just following the Pied Piper, and ultimately that gives
They see, they
this
react.
dude, yeah, and it gives this dude his power to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna stand up for these people, and then it just grows from there. And it's like, dude, what are we paying attention to what the actual fucking event is, or are we
Hey,
just?
what's not to love?
Well, I mean,
Which is why I'm saying that I think
people are profiting off of it, and
Yeah.
that's the other thing is like how are you looking at this and not seeing these people, you know, exchanging money, gaining money, and still saying like, yeah, but you know, he's on our side. It's like, yeah, but he's getting paid for this, you're not. What the fuck are you doing?
Which
You
is-
know?
which is why I'm saying that I think the only way is that we'll have to reach a point where people are pissed off at how many times they're told that this is absolutely what happened by one side or the other, and they find out, no, that was a fucking lie.
You know,
He
I
was
honestly,
just at the wedding, he was peaceful, and then he got shot, except here's the video of him knocking out the first cop and then trying to knock out the second cop.
well,
She was just trying to get in the way of the fight, except here's the video of her mid-stab of a girl with a dog before she gets shot.
that's one of the things that I kind of struggle with trying to understand this, in terms of how people could be so adamantly uh, defensive about one view of an event or situation and totally completely omit any sort of other sort of viewpoint, and just be so comfortable with that stance that it's just like I don't feel comfortable with the idea or terminology that it'd be like a cult like status, because that's just mystic to me, you know. And then at that point you're getting to the point of, yeah, no, these people are under an illusion. I don't want to view these people like that. I give them the benefit of the doubt. These people
You
are
want
smart.
to use them as rational actors
I
rather than
I
just
would,
reactors.
rather than rubes. Yeah, no, 100%. But at the same end, it's getting harder and harder when I'm seeing all of this shit going on, and it's like, dude, all right, so can we just call a spade at this point? Like, at how long do we have to keep placating to these delusions? It's
And
odd.
I think the way that it will finally come to a head, at least this is my hopeful prediction. So this is not the doom and gloom. This is me actually saying best case scenario. I think what will happen is we'll reach a point where there will have been so many times that people have been worked up into a frenzy in one direction or the other, and then it comes out that nope, it was all bullshit. That they will finally go, okay, yep, I heard you say that this happened. I need to see all the evidence. Not just what you have to show. I need to see all the evidence. So I'm going to withhold my judgment until that happens, and they will demand the evidence before just jumping into the next frenzy. Because people don't like looking like fools. And when someone comes out in defense of the guy who was shot in the wedding incident, how the fuck do you not look like a fool? He was just at a wedding. He was causing any problems. He wasn't attacking the police officers. The video gets released. Here's him knocking out police officer number one. Here's him trying to knock out police officer number two before blam, 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 blam. Suddenly, you aren't able to make that defense. But you've been making that up until that video came out. So now everyone's going, oh, You're full of shit. So I'm hoping desperately that eventually it'll reach the point.
The video's obviously faked.
I would not be surprised if people start saying that before too much longer.
That's gonna. I trust me. That will happen if things get inconvenient enough.
Were there, because I heard they were planning protests for the weekend. Was there anything going on tonight, or is it for tomorrow? And
I'm not 100% sure. I haven't heard about the planned protest. Skep, have you heard anything about that?
Not a thing. Will masks be required?
I don't know. Like I said, when I'm at work, I every now and then check the news feed on the Windows thing, and I saw some bits where BLM was looking to raise protests over the weekend.
They must need another house.
Well, I don't know. Like when I see that, I usually tend to think, all right, so what are they? They're having us look over here. What are they distracting us from? You know. So that's what I was like. And of course, you know, Russia lost a ship in the Black Sea, so you know we could be at nuclear standoff. So why not have a protest in Michigan?
Not just any ship, the flagship of their fleet.
Is that
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
I thought I heard Cryptic.
Yep, that was Cryptic.
Whoa!
Yeah. I'm alive.
So they lost the flagship.
Yeah.
Yeah, the flagship of the fleet in the Black Sea. Basically, they. And the funny part is that ship was built to withstand those type of undetected span and prevent those type of missile attacks. Didn't work, I guess.
I heard it sank though during a towing. Like they were towing it back to a port in Crimea, right? Or the chunk that they took.
That's Crimea.
Yeah. They were towing it back to a port there. I can't remember the name. It was like Slovakia or something. I can't remember. And it sank midway through, but I don't think it was because I think it was something like a storm or something.
That's the official.
This was being recorded.
That's the official reason the Russian government sent it out, but it's more than likely it's because it was sinking because of the damage that was done during the Ukrainian attack. So
probably easier to just let it sink, huh?
The Ukrainians actually were able to launch an attack against their ship. Is that what you just said, Cryptic?
Yeah, it was like from like Neptune missiles.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
2 Neptune missiles hit the ship. Those are about the size of, they're about a foot and a half shorter than a super étendard exocet, like what hit the Sheffield in the Falklands. But what happened evidently was they cooked an ammo pyro, and that blew like the starboard quarter of the ship. It just disintegrated. So they were dragging ass all the way back, and you saw the list on the ship and saw that it was down by the rear.
Yeah,
meaning it was sinking by the stern.
It was like underwater, essentially, right? It was half.
Yeah, it was. He had no freeboard on the stern, on the starboard side of the stern. He had no freeboard at all. It was either underwater or at the water line. But that's because at the moment that picture was taken, I'm sure that ship got lower and lower in the water until finally they just said, cut the freaking tow rope and we're out of here.
So it was a less impressive failure along the lines of the hood, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, this was not like the hood. The hood took
just absolutely blew up. But
yeah, I mean, it in 1 second it was a perfectly functioning, best warship in the fleet, and 3 seconds later that ship didn't exist.
Yep. But what I mean by it was a less impressive version of the hood was the reason why the hood failed so spectacularly was
I misinterpreted what you said. I hear you now. Okay.
Yeah,
it was much less impressive. The problem that I have is when it comes to sailors getting killed at sea, that really bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like anybody to lose life. Even if I'm against them, if I was in a fight and I saw a bunch of guys, struggling in the water, I'd take them on board as POWs.
Mm-hmm.
If they were from the other side, give them medical care. I would, the Japanese, by the way, did not afford us the same.
No, they didn't.
Thing. In fact, what they used to do was they would
strange. I was just thinking that.
And get a few links of anchor chain, chain that around a guy's neck, and throw him over the side, which immediately takes you to the bottom of whatever ocean you're on, and it essentially blows you up from the inside as you descend.
Mm-hmm.
It's but I don't like the idea of sailors getting killed at sea. It's hard enough thing just to put to sea and do the things you have to do to stay on the dry side of the water.
Yeah, dying in the ocean is a singularly horrendous sort of death.
Yeah, if nuclear weapons are not involved, it could be quite prolonged, quite protracted.
But it's interesting to see how everything's been progressing, and it is infuriating to see how feckless our leadership has been.
This is an interesting thing because Trump could turn into the Republicans' worst nightmare. I don't think he's got enough oomph to get elected. He's going to get the old MAGA crowd, but there are too many people who have soured on him, and the other side is still just as animated against him as they've always been. They'll vote for anybody but him.
Well,
they literally will vote for anybody but him. And now there are a bunch of Republicans who feel the same way.
There's a lot of polls that say that might not be the case. Now, I'm not saying that it won't be, but it might not be the case because there's the approval of Donald Trump from a lot of different very heavily Democrat-leaning poll services is currently up in the 50s. The approval rating of Biden is
the approval
down
rating
in the
for
30s.
Donald Trump is above
higher.
50%. Is
Yes.
above 50% with Democrats.
It was in the 49 to 52 range for a lot of polls.
That is absolutely. I am gobsmacked.
And it was
I didn't
primarily
realize Democrats liked him that much.
it was primarily on questions like, do you think that Donald Trump would have handled Ukraine better?
Well, no. I'm talking about the actual popularity of Trump
like I said,
with Democrats.
It's not just with Democrats. It's with the people that were polled by these polling agencies that have a notable heavy Democrat leaning in who they poll. So the polls lean Democrat rather substantially, and you're still ending up with 49 to about 50 to 53% favorable outlook on Donald Trump. And you end up with a 30-something% favorability of Biden and a 50-something% unfavorability of Biden.
I'm looking at these Donald Trump favorability polls. Both are YouGov, both are run by The Economist. Show favorable at 42% and unfavorable at 53% for Donald Trump. That's the only Donald Trump favorability that is. There's some older ones, but they're about the same too.
Because I heard someone make this claim, and then I looked it up shortly after.
Go to 358. I mean, 538. I mean, that's my numeric dyslexia. Go to 538 and just look at that.
That one currently has unfavorable just over 50, favorable just
for
Trump.
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Which one are you looking at? April 9th through 12th?
I'm looking at this one seems to end at like April 2nd.
No. Look at the latest ones. Look at April 9th through 12th. You want me to share my screen?
Sure,
I've got all this right here. Hang on. We'll just put it up.
I just pulled up one of them, and it was apparently the one put out on the 13th.
Easy enough to do.
Now, is this all working on the assumptions that it would be like a rematch of Trump and Biden?
Yeah. Down here is the Donald Trump favorability. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. And can you see my cursor okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Just make sure. And April 9th through 12th, it's he's 42% favorable with generally unfavorable is still 53%.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is overall that's not heavily Democrat or not heavily Republican. That's YouGov. They at least have a B+. They're not terribly prejudiced. And Trump's unfavorability is just and he's going to insist on running. I think he would run as a third-party candidate just to spoil it for the Republicans because he hates the Republicans almost as much as the Democrats.
I think it'd be hilarious hearing Donald Trump announce he was running for the Bull Moose Party.
That's essentially what it would be. It would be just like TR.
I can't do a Trump impression, but I would love to hear somebody that can, make that announcement.
Would be
it's gonna be huge.
Well, the problem is it would throw us into
party.
That could produce Kamala Harris president or President Hillary Clinton, either one. I actually think Hillary's going to get in and run. I think she's going to come in and save the party because Kamala's too weak and Biden's too old.
I'm not sure.
Kamala Harris is a sitting vice president of the United States with 39% approval.
Yeah, that is absolutely ridiculous.
Me?
Her and Biden are vying for which one's the most hated politician in the U.S. currently.
Yeah, and Biden's not really doing that much better. His this week's numbers are sucking wind as always. And I think the Republicans will find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I think they will have good good midterms coming up. But after the midterms, now the presidential election, they'll lose that. They will find a way to lose this.
Yeah, unfortunately, the way that it tends to work is that Republicans are really good at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Internally, the Democrats are really good at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory externally.
Yeah.
Where if there's anything that the U.S. was doing really well on the global stage, or any front where the U.S. was doing really well, the Democrats will immediately reverse that.
Just curious,
like being energy self-sufficient.
Just
Exactly.
curious, do they have any favorability ratings for DeSantis on 538, Skep?
I'm going down there. That's a good question.
Because I mean, as much as I
It
would love
is
to
here.
see as much as I would love to see the food fight between like Trump and Kamala and Hillary, I'm kind of curious what people outside of Florida are thinking in regards to DeSantis. Because I mean, if he's got higher favorable, and significantly higher favorables than Trump, I imagine he's gonna pull the trigger and run, right?
Possibly. He keeps on saying that he has no intention of doing so, but
I mean, if there's nobody else but Trump, and he's coin flip between him and President Houseplant with the favorabilities.
Yeah. DeSantis is killing everybody with favorable. Yeah, I mean, he's just beating everybody in Florida.
Charlie Crystal trying to do a thing, huh?
Keeps his finger in. But yeah. So yeah, DeSantis just is
Oh, Skep, did you see that Nikki, was it Freed? Is that how you say her last name? You see that the tweet from her that was going around today?
No, what did she say?
Apparently, I guess pull it up because I did see that when I was scrolling earlier. I want to get it right. I don't want to paraphrase.
Well, let's see. Tweets and replies. I'm on her Twitter page.
Yeah, I was just scrolling down. Oh, here it is from 12 hours ago. It's absurd that I have to dignify this, but there is no sex tape. Sorry to disappoint. Also, sorry, basically every successful woman has to deal with these type of rumors. I thought it was funny because
I have to dignify this, but there is no sex tape. Sorry to disappoint. Also, sorry, basically every successful woman has to. Wow.
And the only people I saw that were like talking about it were like, "What sex tape? What?" Like,
yeah.
I just looked up one of the polls that I remember looking into, and it was the Blueprint polling survey that was done in Georgia in this one. They had done other ones, and I'll need to look up each of those in turn. I was just able to quickly find this one in my history. And the Blueprint polling survey found Trump with a 51.6% support among Georgia residents who would be voting in 2024, while just 36.8% backed Biden. And there have been a bunch of other states that I've seen similar polls from.
Interesting. Polls can
They can
give you some good insights, but
be misleading as all fuck. Yeah.
I just want to see what happens in the midterms. If the Republicans find a way to screw the pooch in the midterms, because the Dems really have made a hash of government right now. They've just made an absolute mess of things. If the Republicans can't get some payback for that, well, let's just have the apocalypse and have done with it.
Yeah, if they end up fucking things up with the current situation, it'll just be good goddamn. How the hell would you ever win if you can't win now? So
how old will who be, Jenna? Or you're asking how old will Trump be if he becomes president again? Or somebody else?
Yeah, if Trump runs in 2024, see if
wouldn't he be getting around 80?
See, he
give or take.
he would be
78.
78.
Yeah, he turned 79. He'll be turned 78
The first year.
Yeah, hold on, but seeing him doing his rally speeches or whatever, compared to Joe Biden, who after a speech, went to shake the hand of a ghost, and then went and whispered some stuff to the American flag behind him. I mean, I don't think there's like, I mean, I think there's a clear difference in what we're dealing with.
Yeah, Trump still has his mind. Joe's has melted completely.
It's honestly it's getting sad at this point. That was really when I first
That
saw
really
the
was.
video of
It feels
of
like
him,
elder abuse.
Yeah, no, yeah, because it was like, dude, nobody was there to at least. It would have looked bad having some like assistant there to lead him off. But at
Yeah,
that
they should
end,
have had
it's like,
somebody to pick, basically give him a cue of which way to turn. That
Joe,
was
yeah,
It would have
Absolutely.
looked bad, but it couldn't have looked worse.
it no, yeah, that was, and honestly, that's what it's like. At this point, it's like when you're talking to somebody who's, oh yeah, no, everything's hockey. It's like, dude, are you seeing the same shit that we're seeing?
And the recordings from what was it? It was the White House gathering where Barack visited the White House.
Oh yeah, and he was wandering around like, hey, does anybody want to talk to me? And
Yeah,
I'm just the president.
No,
He's
the,
also getting ignored by Obama with his hand on his shoulder.
That's what I was
Yeah.
just about to
Oh
bring
god,
up.
that
He
was
was
hard to
effectively just
watch.
no,
pulling on Obama's sleeve, going, "Hey, Barack,
No.
Barack."
no, he literally put his arm on Brock, the Odumbo's fucking shoulder, and it's like, Barack. He was yelling Barack,
Mhm.
and
And he's still just smiling and shaking hands to other people, like he doesn't even know,
Yeah.
like he can't feel those bony claws on his shoulder.
Mhm.
we have literally a puppet president, and nobody fucking is batting an eye of it.
But Sanguine, you said when he got all confused and was walking off the stage after shaking hands with a ghost, it couldn't look any worse. I beg to differ, sir. He
What
could
did
have
he
ended
do
up.
now?
He could have I'm saying it could have looked worse. He could have ended up after shaking hands with the ghost and talking to the flag and finally going to walk off stage proper.
Pulling down his pants and taking a shit on the stage? Is that where
Well,
you're going?
I was gonna say he could have started penguin walking because he was in the process of shitting his pants before he got off stage.
Okay.
It could always be worse. It could be raining.
True. Very true. But I'm saying
Haven't heard that
the
expression in a while.
having a handler couldn't have looked worse than what it looked like without one. Because just good goddamn, that was
hard to watch.
yeah. Like
You
I
guys
said,
see the clip of him saying he was a full professor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that he was.
Where did that come from? Is that the same speech or was that something else?
No, that was an old speech.
That was an old one?
speech. Yeah.
No, it's a new one, Skep. It's
Well, he's
he-
made that claim before. He's made
That
that claim
he's made
he's
the-
a
he's
full
time and
professor?
time again.
right. But he was paid basically $1 million to be a to be part of the faculty, kind of like, but he never fucking taught a day in his life.
he
never-
was
Like
an
University of
honorary,
Delaware or something?
effectively.
Yeah,
Huh?
like his son was in the JAG Corps.
Yeah, they paid him to be
He's a
part
Navy
of the.
lawyer until his first
Yeah.
drug test.
They basically paid him to be part of the staff type of deal, but I think they paid him $1 million from what I read, but he never taught a class, not a single fucking class.
Mm.
That's what
And people wonder why so many people are saying, man, academia is kind of bullshit right now, isn't it? I wonder.
I wouldn't know. I dropped out years ago.
Could have saved a lot of money if I dropped out.
When I went, thankfully, it still kind of meant something, but that is really just vanishing at an astounding pace at the moment.
Yeah. When I went, it was around like a year and a half after 9/11. So there's a lot of discord especially with anti-protest or anti-war protests. So, yeah, no, yeah. But I think, the craziest thing with me kind of coming to the realization that college is kind of like, wait, seems kind of like a scam. I went to an art school in Chicago, and one, they didn't care to look at my portfolio.
Fantastic. That's always a great sign.
This is the best part of the initiation part, right?
Yep.
But the second part was when I was picking classes, since they didn't see my portfolio, I had to start at the beginning. So I had to start at the learning basic shapes and shit. And so when
I was really hoping for a moment there that you were going to say they never checked my portfolio, but they did a full financial check on me.
Oh no, they didn't give a shit. As long as because this is when they were giving out loans like crazy, So they're just like, yeah, just sign the dotted line and fucking come on in. But no, I was in my first class and they're teaching us like this is how you draw a circle, and I'm talking to the lady next to me. She's like, yeah, I was a dentist apprentice and I figured I wanted to try drawing, so here I am. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, I built up this portfolio to get into art school, and this broad just fucking decides to change, career decisions. Like, this is ridiculous. Not to say that anybody can't draw, but at the same end, it's like,
you shouldn't be in the same class.
Yeah, if we're
Are you disparaging her lived truth?
Hey, I wish her all the best, but you know what?
That's better.
When we drew arm to arm, so to speak, yeah, I was way ahead of her. It was ridiculous. And it wasn't a contention of our individual fucking, skill set, or even
did that make you feel powerful?
No, it made me feel pissed, and it made me join the protests for anti-war. So that's why I stopped going to school. But regardless, the reason was like, I was looking at it as like, why am I paying this much money? Why did I take out this loan for this much to go to school where they don't really want me to achieve a skill? They just want me to go through this process to.
It's empty and pointless, kind of like the government.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to learn anything, and especially
when Kamala's head.
Oh well, I'm not going to go that far, sir.
You don't need to. I did.
Oh. But no, that's that's when I was like, when I started seeing like, yo, yeah, dude, this is all a scam. This is a fucking scam. That they're working people over, and that's why when you see people now and they're like, oh shit, got a college degree and it doesn't do me nothing. It's like, well, yeah.
We just don't need that many sociologists.
Yeah. What did you think when you were gonna go? Like, at least with me, it was like, all right, I understood that I had to be really good at the craft to be able to get into a good position. That's why I was going to college for it. But when I was sitting there, I was like, oh wait, I'm sitting next to somebody who just decided to all of a sudden start drawing, and it's like, well, I don't think I'm gonna, I'm not gonna. Is the same outcome gonna come from? I don't get it. Something seems off. So yeah, I was no, thank you.
Well, okay.
Oh shit. Yeah, no.
Bit of moral testimony there.
Thank you for my coming from my TED Talk.
It's infuriating how we so often fail to order by ability in pretty much anything now. It should be that you order by ability in school. You order by ability in... Pick a venue, effectively. Because it matters a massive amount. When you have everyone in a class at not the exact same ability, because you'll never have the exact same ability, but within a fairly narrow range,
You're bringing up a really interesting point, and I want to ask you a quick question before you continue.
Okay.
Is the proper objective of a teacher in a classroom to get every individual student to reach his maximum potential? Or is it to teach the highest level possible to the most number of people in the class? And you cannot have both.
Well, hold on.
It is the former.
It also relates in context. I mean, if you're teaching math, I would hope that it would be as solid and precise as can be. But if you're
You
teaching,
teach in, yeah, Adam, you teach in different ways according to what you want to achieve. If you're trying to teach absolutely everybody in the class, get them all able to do a certain thing, okay, that certain thing, because of just the way people are, people have different abilities to learn. If you settle for achieving that and keeping the level of the class slow enough and simple enough, and all the steps simple enough to where it can, you can reduce math to rote memorization, or at least a lot of arithmetic. You can.
You'll bore the piss out of the clever ones.
Well, you bore the piss out of the clever ones, but that doesn't really matter because they have privilege anyway, by and large. Okay, they have intellectual privilege, if nothing else. And isn't that also another social good to hold them back a little bit and let some other people step
Absolutely
up and
not.
achieve?
No, because if you sign up for an algebra
Why
class,
should smart people?
if you sign up for an algebra class,
get to
you
be
shouldn't have to
scientists?
waste the time teaching people how 1 + 1 equals 2. Like, that's ridiculous.
That's why we have AP class. That's why we have the accelerated class.
But
That's why we have.
and
That's why.
that's exactly what I was talking about when I was saying I signed up for college courses, and I'm regulated to, hey, now I have to pay this much and spend this much time learning how to draw circles when I'm in college for art. This should have been addressed in high school and middle school. Like, that's ridiculous.
But yeah, the point of school, what I would view as the
My
mission
question
for
still
teachers,
stands.
which is what I'm
question-
answering.
All right, which one is it, A or B? What
The
is
former.
proper-
It is A. 100%.
to
It is
maximize
A.
each individual student,
Yes.
even at the expense of other students who could have achieved more if they had had more personalized attention from the instructor, and if the class hadn't gone as fast as it did. So you're content to leave some of the slower ones in the dust,
Break them
in
off
order-
into other classes, get them to be at the proper speed. That's what I'm... Because the way that I interpreted your question, Skep, was either...
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. You interpreted it correctly.
Okay.
I tend to agree with you. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to expand the discussion so that we
absolutely.
take what the other side's point of view is. That's what they're trying to do.
I actually understand what Skep is talking about. The current education system is basically trying to dumb down the teaching process, right? The teaching of the least common denominator instead of the what, if the kid is fucking smart, move him up or move him to a specialized class, right? That's how we get our brightest to to the full potential. However, what Skep is alluding at is right now is like we're dumbing down the education to slow down the bright kids to fucking have the lowest common denominator because of equity. And
yes, equity, exactly.
It's not equality, it was equity. And I hate that
no.
fucking word. I hate that
Yep,
fucking
same here.
word.
No.
Because you shouldn't just abandon them and cut them loose and go, well, fuck them, they're hopeless, leave them be, which is why I said that you need to effectively rank order everything. And you need to have a rank ordering of skill level for classes so that you have a very tight band of how quickly people learn. Because, yeah, if you stick the G&T kids in the same class as the remedials, you have to choose. Are you going to absolutely bore the piss out of the G&T to the point where they just drop out of education entirely because they see absolutely no utility in continuing to be bored shitless? Or are you going to leave the remedials completely in the dust to the point where they will never understand even a fraction of what you're talking about because you never devoted enough time for them to get it? What you do is you break it up into rank ordered skill level classes so that your G&Ts are grouped together and they're able to skip along much faster, and your remedials are grouped together so that time is able to be taken in order to help them. And then if someone is remedial even to the remedials, it might be necessary that they have private instruction in order
here's something you're not taking into account, Sanguine. That is the political aspect that's entered into the objective of teaching students anything. And that is, my grandkids came home and they said, "Grampy, we're learning division." I said, "Oh, show me how you do division." So they showed me. Well, first of all, we set up our first matrix number 1 like this. And I'm going, matrix number 1, what the fuck? And the 10s go here and the 1s go here. And then we add them up like this. And then we have another sheet of paper where we keep these totals on. So we keep those separate so that we know what those are. And they go through this horrifying thing, which is just sort of a dumbed down reverse multiplication technique of doing division. And I said, let me show you a real fast way to do division. I said, you know your times tables, right? I know they know their times tables because I've drilled these children on them. And I said, with those times tables in your head, you can do something called long division. And I taught them how to do long division. And they went and showed their little friends at school. And actually, my grandson got yelled at by the teacher for doing long division, for doing it the wrong way. She said, "That's not the way we do it in class. Please do it correctly."
No, that's indoctrination. That's the school, the teachers union fucking. And I hate to sorry, right, folks, Adam. But listen, it's Adam Jones now, but you know it's the teachers union, and they're devising a plan to. No, but seriously, it is what it is, and that's been going on for a while.
I think it'd be hilarious, Skep, if you were to go with a teacher from the left side and like go at them like an environmentalist and like, why are you making them waste an extra sheet of paper doing this division this way? You're killing more trees. That's not eco-friendly. We have a climate crisis. We only got 10 years left, according to AOC, before the planet dies. What the fuck are you doing?
And the thing that pisses me off even more, or not quite even more, I guess it would be my secondary thing that's getting me pissed off from what you just explained, Skep. And that is the bastardization of the word matrix in math. Because you know this, I'm not sure how many other people on stream know. There's an entire thing called matrix math.
You're right, matrix algebra. I took a course in matrix algebra, linear algebra.
Yeah, matrix algebra. Yeah.
And
oh, that's right. I forgot. Cryptic's a math guy. You in fact, you know more. You have a lot more math than I do.
Well, hey, feel free to explain stuff because I am horrible at math.
Okay, minus the math part, right? The problem, I don't like fucking Tim Pool. He's a fucking douchebag, right?
Oh, shots fired.
You don't like who? I'm sorry,
Tim Pool.
Oh, it's funny. He speaks so highly of you. But anyway,
Tim Pool makes a really because he's meandering. He meanders too much, but that's just. But besides the point, right?
But you like me. You're on air with me right now. Do you secretly hate me, Cryptic?
Yes, Tim. I do.
He's coming out.
He makes a good point about the modern teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The modern teachers they used to be fucking those kids that get bullied and picked on, right? And had no friends and all that stuff. Now that they are in position of power because they are now teachers over the kids that they're in a position where they teach the kids that used to be the bullies and everybody else, right?
They take their vengeance on the progeny.
Yes, they're taking a vengeance on our prodigy, and they are basically using their position of power to be the cool kid instead of being a teacher,
And I think another major issue with it is that you also have a lot of these teachers don't actually know the subjects that they're teaching, because you don't have math majors as math teachers. You have education majors as math teachers. And if you've met enough education majors, you know one of the fields that education majors are the worst at as a whole is math, followed very closely by science. So you end up with people who they don't actually know how to do what they're teaching. They just know, well, this is how the book says it. So,
that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, they don't. Math is not taught by a math major. English is not taught by an English major. No, sirree, Bob. They get lesson plans that in a pinch, all they have to do is read that lesson plan, and they have taught that course correctly. It's just really sad what has happened to that.
And that becomes most painfully obvious when there's someone who has a question. And you can always tell when a teacher doesn't actually know what the fuck they're teaching, because their response will be to say exactly what they just said a second time. And then when the student asks a question again, they will say exactly what they just said a third time. And they will just continue to repeat it until the student is just embarrassed enough and demoralized enough that they will stop asking for an explanation.
Called giving up.
Well, stop asking, or the teacher deems them as the delinquent.
Yep.
And that is the thing too. It's they aren't teachers; they're instructors, and they're essentially just enforcers of whatever curriculum that the state endows on them, and that's something that's why when Norm Macdonald, among other comedians, but mainly Norm Macdonald, well, when he made fun of teachers aren't heroes, firefighter is a hero, but a teacher is not a hero. I'm not going to do the joke because I do the service for it, but but it's true. It's these people. But it's weird though, because there's a switch. It's young children teachers, they're heroes, but older students, like middle school, high schools, it's like fucking the substitute teacher. It's like it's these guys are just dealing with unruly fucking young adults who don't give a shit, and the teacher is barely hanging on by a thread. It's a weird dichotomy on that, but as we're going, it's kind of telling why that dichotomy exists.
And the thing is, like I said, you have the teachers that their only way of explaining something is by repeating what they've just said. And then you have the handful of teachers. I wish it was the vast majority, but from my experience, it's a handful of teachers. and I had a few of these, where someone would ask how something was done, and they would explain it in an entirely different way. It would still be covering the same thing. It would still impart the same information.
Or they would show you pictures, or they would tell you a story, or they would use
Yep.
analogies, or
Exactly.
illustrations, or
Each of those is a different way.
exactly.
And they would do that the first time.
You're
And then
right.
if someone went, I still don't understand, they would pull out an entirely different way of explaining it. And they would just keep on switching until
Yeah.
the student was able to go, oh, that one makes a lot of sense. And then they would go, okay, fantastic. So let's continue on. And they would continue on until the next time someone had a question. And they would be able to cycle through explanations. I've talked about this one math teacher before on stream. I had a math teacher who was probably the best math teacher that I've ever had. His father was a math teacher as well. Both of them were amazing.
So the only man who could ever teach you was the son of a math teacher man.
The best math teacher that I had was the
See the
son of a
lengths
math
I will
teacher.
go for a joke.
I'm a son of a math, but teacher man.
But
Thank you, Adam.
he had this fantastic habit of, if someone solved a problem, and it looked in a different way than what he was explaining, he would ask, okay, so how did you go through this problem? You would explain it. If he knew that method and knew it was valid, he'd go, oh yeah, that's such and such method. That's perfectly cool. Continue on using it. If he knew that it was invalid, he would go, okay, so here, let's run through this problem, and he would purposefully pick a problem where that method would fail. And he would work through the problem, demonstrate the failure, and then explain why it happens that way and why it worked in the first problem but doesn't work in other problems.
That's somebody who really understands the process he's explaining.
Exactly.
Who has the confidence to do that.
What was even better was if he heard the explanation and he had no fucking clue where it came from, he would go, okay, hold off on using that as your primary approach. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And he would go home that day, and he would crunch through the way that you explain the problem with a bunch of other problems. And he would see if any of them worked. He was also actually a math major, and he knew other math majors. He knew several mathematicians that had continued on to higher education that he was still close with. And if he reached a point where he was going, okay, so this seems to work, I don't know why it works, he would call up one of his old college buddies and see if any of them knew.
Proof.
Yeah, he would work through it. And then he would, if one of his buddies went, oh yeah, that's this type of math, I'm surprised one of your students knew. He would come back the next day and go, yeah, apparently you're doing postgraduate level math somehow? That's kind of cool. You're a natural. Here, you can continue using this method because it works.
Yeah. After Calc 3, generally, you go into proof.
Yep.
That's when you basically go into theoretical and proving. That's what they call it, proof.
Mm-hmm.
The equation and why it works. But before we go any further, it's like, this is the reason why I hate modern education.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1, the teachers' union. 2, tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Tenure has allowed teachers to be lazy. They have allowed them to basically not get fired because of their shitty fucking ability to teach, and usually that's facilitated by teachers' union.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get rid of tenure in public schools, and it's not happening because it's generally run by people who support that shit. So
yeah, it's run by unions, and the unions love tenure.
Yep.
Tenure makes sense at a college level.
Yeah.
And above. You aren't doing any fucking research as a high school teacher.
Right.
You shouldn't be.
And but that's the problem. They have tenure in most fucking high school system, sometimes in middle school, depending on the state, right? And
That's a
you
huge
should not have
problem.
that.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
And you let shitty teachers fucking stay, have a job for life. After, once they reach tenure, they have a job for life, and it's just
Sure do.
That's the thing that people don't understand about unions. The way that unions are explained, it sounds like unions are there for the good teachers and good workers of profession X to make sure that they aren't abused or have anything go wrong with them. That's not how unions function. Unions couldn't give a shit about the actually good worker, because the number of times that the good worker will come to the union and rely on the union, relatively few and far between. The bread and butter of unions are the shitbags. Because those are the people that desperately rely on unions in order to stay in their position. So they will give generously to unions. They will be at every union meeting in order to make sure that their ass is covered by the union. Which is why so often you'll hear about horrendous things happening in a union job, and the union backs up whoever was responsible 100%, because they know the moment that they do that, that shitbag is a union man for life.
Yep. Johnny fucking says it correctly. It's for protection when you fuck up. Literally, it's like they don't do it for the kids. They don't, once you join the union and you're not gonna get fired, they don't care. Teach your kid CRT, teach your kid, or don't teach your kid. Tell them, the dipshit, when you're not there, they don't care. And there's no accountability anymore. And that's the biggest problem with all education. Is like they don't teach the kid the essential math, science, all that stuff. They don't. They're just like, okay. When I was growing up, and that sounds like an old man now. When I go to math class, they teach me math. They don't talk about freaking. Oh yeah, you have to call Johnny she, because Johnny feels like he's a Jessica today.
Listen, Johnny, I don't give a shit. How do you solve this problem?
Yeah. It's just there's a reckoning coming. So
it's infuriating, and it's damaging our education system as a whole. And go ahead, Skep.
I'm curious, Cryptic, what kind of reckoning do you think is coming? Or do you think a reckoning just needs to come?
Both. I think personally,
so you think it's coming and it's deserved.
I think it's coming and it's deserved, and we need it, because right now, we're being run by idiots who think social issues is what we need to push on all kids, right? I don't have kids myself right now, okay, but I believe, as a country, we can't be this decadent, like we can't teach our kids to hate themselves. We can't teach our kids to, be stupid and not fucking understand the basic concept of science, and doing that will make a suicidal collapse. I don't give a shit. Even communists, capitalists, whatever, any ideology, if any of that shit is adopted, it's going to hurt or destroy our society.
We have a generation of people that think that you can change every number in a math problem and the answer will remain the same without designing it to do so. Like you can just randomly change the numbers.
They're literally saying nothing is correct. I mean, incorrect. I'm sorry. It's like 2 + 2 is, 2 + 2 is 5, and that's still correct because.
Well, what they're saying is accuracy is a whiteness concept. I'm not joking. That
yes,
getting the
exactly.
right answer is a whiteness concept, and whiteness needs to be eradicated.
And that hard work is whiteness as well.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Protestant work ethic and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. When some woke motherfucker design a bridge, like as a civil engineer, right?
Mm-hmm.
They design like a bridge, and they're like, they have to conform to some social justice criteria, like, this bridge has to be over. If it's over a black neighborhood, right? Let's just hypothetical, right? This is not necessarily going to happen. They need to design a bridge to be replaced over a black neighborhood or something, right? But they say, hey, it has to be this tall to let certain vehicles through because of, I don't know, social justice bullshit.
Oh, do you want to use an actual example from the real world of people bitching about bridges and shit?
Yes. I know where you're heading. Go ahead.
So there's the bridge, an overpass that Booty Gig, Butt Giggle, whatever the fuck you want to call them, is bitching and moaning about and saying that it is clearly racism. So it's a bridge that was designed and it was too low for a bus to pass underneath it. And he says that this is racism because if not for this bridge, or not for this overpass, then mostly minority people would be able to be bussed to the beach and enjoy a nice beach vacation. So, Do you know the major problem with this idea? That road surface is not rated for buses. It has never been rated for buses. In fact, it says do not use buses on this road. So yes, they then went, hey, this road cannot have buses go on it because it is not rated for buses. We've been telling everyone you can't drive a bus on this fucking thing. So we can make a overpass that is large enough for cars to go under, for trucks to go under, but not for 18-wheelers, buses, or any heavy vehicle to go under. So we're going to make the overpass big enough for that. And now he's saying that the overpass being fit for the road and the vehicles that are allowed to go on that road is racism because you can't drive a bus along that. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yep. And they're trying to apply it to a lot of federal constructions in the next 2-3 years, right? It's like, we're not gonna approve a reconstruction of Road A or Road B, right, through these neighborhood because it's been historically, lived through by black people or whatever minority, right? Because if we build a road through there, it would disrupt their neighborhood, whatever. It's like, but it will provide them better transportation. But no, because we're rebuilding that area based off of efficiency and not racial consideration, right? That's the shit that our federal government is considering when it comes to like funding to build roads and shit, and that's asinine. It's like you're building or rebuilding or funding a road through a neighborhood that may be historically black or historic whatever, but you're providing them better transportation,
Mm-hmm.
But due to the, his so quote unquote historical, which are the historical issues that came from that neighborhood,
Oppression.
yeah, whatever it is that they decided it to be,
Yep.
it's considered racist now. So we're not going to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking stupid.
Yeah. And to respond to what JB in chat said, isn't it racist to say being right is inherently white? Yes, it is. But this is something that they've been doing for a while. What was it, 2 years ago that the Smithsonian African American History Museum put out that spectacular bit of propaganda that I can only imagine was penned by Richard Spencer himself?
Mm.
Do you guys remember that chart? Let me pull it up in case
Yeah,
anyone...
I
say
don't
that I
remember
do.
which one. I'm trying to think of which one you're talking about. I need more description or look at it.
So
Let me quickly pull it up. And go ahead, Cryptic, as I'm doing this.
Yeah,
So-
because we got, that's right, Assassin. We've got privilege. Hi, Jenna.
I'm pulling. So I have this article for the Western Journal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Road of Races. Buttigieg says racism literally built into roads, so they must be destroyed and rebuilt. This is literally what he says. On Monday, Secretary. Well, this is November last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Monday, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg or Buttigieg, whatever they want to call him.
Butt giggle.
Yeah. Douchebag said that that some of our roads are indeed racist. In a news conference to discuss the infrastructure bill, one reporter asked Buttigieg about the racism in America's roadway and what's going to be done about it. And this is quote, also, can you give us a construction of how we will deconstruct the racism that was built into the roadways as you talk to the griot? I don't know what the griot is, but the griot earlier when you broke the information with us. Can you talk to us about the how that can be deconstructed? The reporter asked.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's too goddamn long. Basically, he's basically saying like all the roads that was built, which is like has been designed and built to.
I remember.
Suppress.
Yeah, suppress and restrict black people. I'm like,
Yeah, I remember around the time that he said that a bunch of people on Twitter were linking to stories about one particular guy that was doing road through, was it New York?
Yep, This is the one that I was just referring to. Built the overpass so that buses
couldn't get to like the state park or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, yeah, because that only affected black people.
And
Not
it was
just,
a road surface
poor
that
people,
was
but-
not rated for buses, so buses were never allowed to pass on that
Yeah.
road. So, yeah, when you're making a overpass that buses and heavy vehicles are not allowed to travel on, you make the overpass as if it's just going to be cars rather than buses and heavy vehicles passing along that road, because they can't pass along that fucking road. And I found the Smithsonian white culture and whiteness poster. So do you guys want to go through that again? It's been like 2 years since this came out. And it is perhaps the most racist document that I have ever seen.
Yeah, I put the article I was bullshitting about in chat. So
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's
The Wall Street Journal.
that entire thing about the roads being racist is absolutely ridiculous. So let's go through what the Smithsonian Museum of African American History ends up having to say about this. So, aspects and assumptions of whiteness and white culture in the United States. White culture or whiteness refers to ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have all internalized some aspect of white culture, including people of color. So apparently, rugged individualism, with its the individual is a primary unit, self-reliance, independence, and autonomy highly valued and rewarded, and individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve is a factor of whiteness. So if you are self-reliant, congratulations, you're engaging in whiteness, because clearly if you are non-white, then you are reliant upon others. And that's totally not racist somehow. If
these are just stereotypes, as you look through these, it's just stereotype after stereotype after stereotype. The nuclear family, father, mother, 2.3 children, husband is breadwinner, wife is homemaker and subordinate to the husband. Children should have their own rooms, be independent. It sounds like visiting the Leave It to Beaver household. You know?
Oh, it gets worse though, because those two are the least offensive categories.
Oh Lord.
Yep. The emphasis on the scientific method. Objective, rational, linear thinking is whiteness.
As opposed to prejudiced, irrational, nonlinear thinking, which is better.
Cause and effect relationships are whiteness. Quantitative emphasis is whiteness.
What were you going to say, Cryptic?
I remember this. It's
you
literally fucking the emphasis on scientific method. You literally throwing out everything that's fucking has been proven true and how to prove scientific.
Just all Cartesian logic. That's all.
Yeah, just plain old logic in general. It's like, this is fucking. This infuriating the living shit. This is the shit that we're pushing in our school system, and this is what's causing a lot of the harm.
Yep,
in our education system because of this fucking bullshit.
It's throwing out information gleaned from all over the world, because the amazing thing about science is it doesn't matter where the fuck you do it. If you're experimenting with the rate of gravitational acceleration at a specific distance from the center of the Earth, you can do it at any such distance from the center of the Earth, and it will still ring true. You have, was it Aristarchus of Tyana or Eratosthenes that was the person that calculated the circumference of the Earth based on the distance between where they were located in Egypt versus this one village that they had received a little piece of text that said, on the longest day of the year, the sun shone straight down the well.
Are you talking about Aristotle? You're talking about Aristotle.
I don't think it was Aristotle that calculated the circumference. I think it was Aristarchus.
No, he was the first. He was the first one who did it. He's like 400 or 350 or 400 BC.
Yeah,
I think it was Aristotle. And I know that one of the ones that you're talking about, and it is one of the Ari guys, got it a lot closer.
It is Eratosthenes. I just looked it up.
Yep.
Yeah, the Greek philosopher Aristotle is credited as the first person to try and calculate the size of the Earth by determining its circumference, the length around the equator. He estimated this to be about 400,000 stades. A stadia is a Greek measurement equaling about 600 feet. So 600. Let's do a little bit of arithmetic here. That's
He has it much smaller than the actual Earth, because he said 600 stadia or 600,000. If it's 600,000, he has it about twice the size of the Earth.
He had 400,000 stadia.
400,000
is what he said. 400,000 probably is not terribly far
I
off.
think it's like 1 1/4 larger.
Times. Here, I'm going to tell you exactly.
Well, Skep's doing that, right?
By
Because Eratosthenes got it within 155, or sorry, got it within plus or minus, so minus 2.4% and plus 0.8% of the actual value of the Earth. And it depends because Stadium could be anywhere between 155 and 160 meters.
Well, Skep's doing the mathematical equation on that. How is this white?
Looks like he was about 40,000 miles, so he was significantly high.
Yeah,
by the way.
And Eratosthenes got it really close because Eratosthenes estimated between, so depending on which meter conversion you use for Stadia, it was either 39,060 kilometers or 40,032 or 320 kilometers.
If you'll put my screen on, you can see how this works.
Click you over.
Nice.
Okay.
And, yeah, this is the famous well at Syene.
Yep, that's the one from Eratosthenes.
Yeah, this is basically how he did it, and it just is extremely ingenious.
Yeah, it is ridiculously brilliant. One of the best explanations of it is, of course, in the classic episode of The Cosmos by Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan
goes. Yep, Carl Sagan, where he goes into the explanation of how Eratosthenes did his calculation and everything that went into it. So they're saying that Eratosthenes was from the 2nd century BC Egyptian Grecian philosopher Eratosthenes was apparently an example of white supremacy somehow. Because,
well, I would say that he was like 300. He was like 200 years after Aristotle.
Yes, he was 200 years after Aristotle. But Eratosthenes got it ridiculously close. Then, of course, you have the Chinese proto-chemists that developed gunpowder and all kinds of other ridiculous advancements. You have the reason why the vast
Let's put the funny stuff in with the charcoal and set it on fire and see what happens.
Exactly. The vast majority of the reason why the stars have Arabic names is because of the ridiculous volume of work from the Arabic world.
Oh, yeah.
When
Algebra is not a Presbyterian word.
Exactly. No. You have scientific advancement, mathematical advancement coming out of the Arab world, and somehow that is all white supremacy. No, it isn't fucking white supremacy. It isn't white culture. It isn't anything of the sort. The ability to objectively look at the world and measure it and rely on quantitative rather than purely qualitative assessment is a facet that is necessary and sufficient for having an accurate depiction of what the world actually is.
Well, okay, the scientific method, right?
Yep.
We can all agree, right? It's rooted. Okay, you ask a question, right? You do the research. You construct a hypothesis. You do the experiment, and then you get the data. You draw a conclusion. That's the 5 steps of a scientific method, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where in the world is that says fucking is anywhere?
You must be white. Yeah.
Exactly. It's used daily by all scientists, right, across the world.
Yeah.
Well, how is that white when you know in
Exactly.
any way, right? It's stupid, and this pigeonhole, this academic and social justice bullshit that they're teaching the kids has slowed our advancement in science and technology in the last fucking decade because of this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were at a fucking neck pace with on technology. Now we're slow to a crawl.
We were
Because
going at a goddamn sprint, and it was fucking glorious. And then I've ranted about this before, but I'm going to stress it again. The single most damaging phrase in the political realm, as far as I'm concerned, is why are we spending money on that when? Anything that follows that, fuck you. Because that was the reason why we stopped our just ridiculous funding of science that we had during the space race. Because after the space race, after we did the moon landing, it quickly became, why are we spending money on moon missions and on space exploration when we have poor people?
Well, the thing was,
Because-
we had a lot of well-funded, high priority, high speed research and development projects that had only tangentially touched the space stuff, space race. They might have needed the technological advancement for that, but what it did was it spurred more research in those areas because so much good work had been done, and there were some very significant advances that came out of that. We need. I agree with you. I think we need some kind of national goal to get behind, to kind of unify the country a little bit, and
we need
get us to stop
projects.
naval. We're navel gazing too much. That's our biggest problem right now. Is we've turned inward, and we're glorifying ourselves and giving each other awards for doing nothing. It's sad to see. It's moral and intellectual decadence set in a gross manner, and it's heartbreaking. The country.
Yep.
That,
We
You know what,
grand
Skeptock, I'm 100% with you. I'm with all of you, and I think that's why it's time for the alien invasion.
that would either break
aliens
or
or
solidify humanity. Yes.
I'm sorry, I
think zombies would be good too.
had a cracker with a whole bunch of hot sauce on it, and my mouth is burning.
Nice. But yeah, it's something that infuriates me. So I've covered the.
All right. Before you get into that, I'm actually going to say goodnight because I've been up for a long time today, and we've been on for 2.5 hours, so I'm going to call it a night. So I didn't want you to get started and have me just slip away, but I wanted to thank you for having me on, and thank everybody for putting up with me. It's always great to be here. Anyway, guys, I will catch you next time.
Do you have any parting words that you want to leave on so that you can inspire the people listening along?
The biggest thing that seriously would help everything in the world would be if everybody just was a little bit more considerate for the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the world would be a better place, and a lot of these problems that seem so big would start solving themselves. But
I agree, Skep. Return your shopping carts, you animals.
Yeah, exactly.
I do love the shopping cart hypothesis.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. I will catch you guys on the flip flop. Come catch us tomorrow on the Star Trek stream at 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Central on Blind Press's channel, and on the Harry channel. We're doing Minions tomorrow night, and I guess I'll be back then too. So,
well, on the Minions channel with Harry, we're doing.
Yes, that's what I meant. Did I?
You said on the Harry channel we're doing minions, yes.
Well, with the Harry channel, that's the name of
Yes,
of his
with
account.
the Harry channel, we're doing minions.
On the minions channel. So, all right, guys. Good night. Thanks for having me on. We'll see you later.
Always fantastic
Right.
having you. Hopefully, we'll see you again, Skep.
You will.
That's good.
Bye.
Have a good one. So, the thing that drives me up the wall, and I've said that the primary shame of America, at least America as it is to my mind, is the fact that somehow Teddy Roosevelt did not win the hyphenated American argument. The secondary shame, in my opinion, is, do you guys know that we almost had a Hadron Collider that was over twice the size of the Large Hadron Collider? And we almost had it over a decade earlier? Any of you ever hear about that?
I have not. No.
Where would they have put it?
It would have been in Texas.
Oh, well, no, that makes sense.
So it was going to be a Hadron Collider that was over twice the size of the Large Hadron Collider of CERN, and we would have had it a decade earlier, which would have meant that the research that was done at CERN could have been done up to twice as quickly as it was done at CERN. Do you guys know why that project was stopped?
Money?
I'll give you a hint. I already gave you the answer earlier.
Why are we
I
paying?
mean, I have my ideas, but
It sounded like Camel had the right one. Camel, what was the one that you just said?
I said the whole why are we paying for this?
Yes, why are we spending money on this when we have poor people? Was the reason why the funding for the Large Hadron Collider that was going to be
Because
in
it's
Texas.
unethical scientifically to split poor people, but you can split atoms or slam them together. One of the two.
You can
hey,
do really cool research. And the thing is that, do you guys know one of the major reasons why the US became the economic powerhouse that it was?
Europe kept blowing itself up.
Also the space race and all the tech that we got from the space race? How many times have you heard products with space-age polymers?
I mean, Velcro, Tang,
Velcro,
really
tank,
kind of.
computers, pillows.
I really kind of tuned out after Tang because that's where they lost me. I was like, oh man, space sucks. Just give me regular orange juice.
Hey, I like Tang. But yes, it was Velcro, Tang, space-age polymers, pillows, blankets, fucking everything. GPS, that all came from the space race. Cell phone technology came from the fucking space race. We got information from the space race. We became the economic superpower because we had the best technology. We were able to use it in fucking everything from beverages to just your fucking pillows and vehicles and navigation software and everything else. We had all this technology and we jumped ahead of everyone else. And then as we were sprinting ahead of everyone else came the cries of, what about the poor people? Motherfucker, you fix the issues that we have in the world and you fix the fact that we have as many people in absolute poverty as we do. I've said this before. There will never be a fix to absolute poverty, there'll never be a fix to relative poverty other than reducing everyone to absolute poverty. There will be a solution to virtually all of absolute poverty. Absolute poverty can be solved by just developing more shit more efficiently. But the idea that, well, we have poor people, so we need to stop actually investing in research. Fuck you, you feckless cunt. this is something that was covered a little bit ago when it was the what's the fat Rogan, the less talented Rogan? That one's Seth, right?
Yeah.
Seth Rogan.
Spelled differently as well.
Yes. Seth Rogan was whinging about Elon Musk wanting to go to Mars. And why is he spending money on going to Mars when we have poor people? Motherfucker.
Because he wants to get away from you and the fucking poor people. That's why. It's
not only that, but the tech that we get from doing Mars missions, Elon Musk doesn't want to just go to Mars and then leave it. Elon Musk wants to fucking colonize the motherfucker. He wants to go there and stay. He wants to produce food on Mars. He wants people to live on Mars. So what do you need in order to get to Mars and live on Mars? You need an ability to make food in places where you can't make food normally. Guess what happens when you have a large chunk of the Earth that is not currently suitable for agriculture? When you have the technology to make food in places where you can't make food, suddenly the places that aren't suitable to agriculture are now suitable to agriculture. Guess what happens to the people that currently aren't able to afford food? They can suddenly afford it because food is able to be made everywhere, you ignorant fuck. Also, in order to do this, you have to produce increased ability to store food for a substantial period of time, and you need to be able to do it in ways that is cost effective. So we already have places on Earth that are able to produce far more food than they actually intake. The US, Canada, and China are beautiful examples of this. The US and Canada especially, we produce a ridiculous quantity of food. So on paper, there's the people that say, on paper, we're able to produce enough food in order to feed the entire world over several times over. Yes, on paper we are. The problem is that by the time that the food actually reaches the people that fucking need it, the food is already spoiled. And it is not able to be done in a cost-effective manner. You're able to store food for years at a cost-effective manner. Guess what? Now the food surplus that we have in the United States is now able to be transported all around the Earth without any appreciable increase in the cost. And guess what happens to the number of people that are starving to death when you have that? That's right, you motherfucker. Again, the number of people that are starving to death globally decreases. When you increase the technological development, when you come up with new methods of producing things more efficiently, and you're able to store things for a longer period of time, the overall number of people that are absolutely poor decreases in total around the entire fucking Earth, because absolute poverty is the inability to provide for yourself shelter and food. Relative poverty doesn't fucking matter, because relative poverty is just saying that you are substantially poorer than someone else. And who the fuck cares that you're poorer as long as you get enough? And as we develop technology, as we continue to produce things more efficiently and for cheaper, that technology is able to spread further down the line when it comes to the economic achievement of the people acquiring said technology. We live in the United States. The vast majority of people in the United States have fucking refrigerators and AC. Those are ridiculous luxuries by the scale of the world as a whole.
Mm.
And I have been on an absolute tirade with that.
Yes, you have, but it's justified.
Well, since we've talked about technology and maths and your fancy cooking and Adam and with art, you guys want to talk about something in my wheelhouse?
Go ahead. What's in your wheelhouse?
Well, I saw this scrolling through Twitter. Twitter is just dead. I don't know about you guys, but I keep refreshing, and the gap between like new tweets and what's already on my timeline is like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes between, something posted on it. Damn. And so going through the Explore tab, I found this article from the Chicago Tribune that I can't read because paywall. So I can just read the tweets they've put out, which gives you pretty much the gist of it. new type of cigarette that helps you smoke less for sale amid controversy.
Oh.
The FDA is requiring that the company include the phrase helps you smoke less when advertising the cigarette as products that can reduce exposure to nicotine, a decision that has drawn criticism from health advocacy groups. The cigarettes called VLN King and VLN Menthol King, I appreciate that they went ahead and added a menthol option. I'll give them that. Are the first
in case you want your minty fresh puffs.
Well, I got hip to smoking menthols when I was like 17 because I found out nobody wants to bum that off you.
What are you, black?
I did. I worked with an all-black kitchen crew. Yeah,
fair enough.
Well, there was one other, white guy, but he thought he was black, so I don't count him.
So you're honorary black, or were you never actually bestowed that title?
I did have a friend give me a pass, but he is deceased now, so I feel like it's expired.
Either that, or it's just been grandfathered in perpetuity.
But these are the first combustible cigarettes to gain authorization from the FDA as products that can help reduce the consumption of nicotine for smokers. The cigarettes contain 95% less nicotine. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think they quite understand the thing that, I as a smoker want less of. It's not the nicotine.
Are they going to slowly...
It's the tar, it's the additives, it's,
Yeah, the only thing that I could understand this approach being is if they have an entire range of lower and lower nicotine so that you're able to wean yourself off the nicotine until eventually you're just able to go, you know what, fuck this.
The nicotine isn't what's going to give me lung cancer, Sanguine. I'm not worried about that.
It isn't what's going to give you lung cancer, but it's what makes you go back for another puff.
No, what makes me go back for another puff is that when I was a kid, I wanted to be a dragon, and this lets me breathe smoke.
See, I was expecting you to say that you wanted to look cool, but similar idea.
But I just think that, that's give me a cigarette that has 95% less nicotine. I'm going to smoke more, not less. I want the nicotine,
Like I said, I could understand if they had an entire range of weaning cigarettes.
Take 95% of the caffeine out of like soda. Okay, I'll give you that. I probably won't drink it then, or like the energy drinks. Take the stuff out that's supposed to give you energy. Yeah, I'm not. You ever try like a one of those zero sugar energy drinks? God awful.
I've tried some of the synth sugar energy drinks. Some of those are rather lovely.
But yeah, it's like you guys, this may help you quit smoking. Like, no, it's not. It's not going. No, that's not going to happen. I know plenty of committed smokers. Now they do say that the percentage of smokers in the U.S. has gone down. It was 20.9% of the population in 2005, and in 2020 it was down to 12.5. That's just because we keep dying off. They're not making new smokers. They got vapors now. Let's see what the stats are for them in 20 years.
Yeah, see, vapors transition people off smoking. Like I said, I could understand if they had an entire range, but somehow I don't think 95% of the nicotine is going to be enough to wean you off nicotine. Now, if they had 95%, and then they had an 85%, and then they had a 75%, and then they had a 50, and then they had a 30, and then they had a 10, and then you just stopped smoking, that would make sense.
See, I can't get behind the whole vaping thing. Like, funny thing is, like, I cough more.
Is it because you don't want to look like a faggot?
Well, there is that, yes. But also, like, I end up coughing way more if I try and hit a vape than a cigarette.
Fair enough.
And I don't know what it is, like, it just, the back of my throat just burns, coughing, eyes watering. It's like worse than the first time I ever smoked a cigarette. It's like, fuck it. I'll just take the regular cancer. I don't know what kind of bullshit this is going to give me. I know where this road's going. On the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
oh, my mother used to smoke red 100s. Johnny, that's I always felt like you were paying just for extra filter, and I was like, just give me the Kings. That's also part of the reason why I smoke menthols. Mama Camel, no, she would not bum one off me if that were the.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've never had any interest in any form of smoking because I don't get the urge to light a plant on fire on one end and stick the other end in your mouth.
I just count it as part of my culture and heritage, Sanguine. I'm just
So all of it's peace pipes to you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. These just small, straight, cylindrical peace pipes.
I am
Opposed to your
fading.
small gay peace pipes that you can get elsewhere? Or a different sort of straight?
Can I interrupt
Oh, go
real
ahead.
quick? I'm fading right now. I'll
We
talk to y'all
probably
later.
should go towards parting
Oh,
thoughts.
I was just gonna say, it's like I appreciate the smoking of tobacco in many forms, cigar, cigarette. I even had an old corncob pipe. Do my best MacArthur impression with it.
Nice.
So
nice.
those are always fun because you have to keep those. You got to keep an eye on them. If you're not puffing away, they go out pretty quick.
And yeah, like I said, vaping, I can understand people transitioning to vaping in order to eventually wean off to quitting. But it's one of those things that just reducing the nicotine, it seems like you'd need to have an entire range of quitting cigarettes in order to wean off the nicotine sufficiently in order to resist the cravings. But yes, shall we go to parting words?
Sure.
And Cryptic, since you're saying that you're flagging, do you want to go first?
Life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
And
working in
then
Alabama, man, that was rough.
And
let's go straight down the line to Camel.
I pulled up a quote page to try and fish one out earlier. This one's attributed to Andy Rooney, but I have doubts about the attributions on this one. The average dog is a nicer person than the average person. So hashtag save Bruno, guys. He's still missing.
So just leaving off with one tonight rather than two?
I mean, I could give you a second one if you want. And if you're feeling, let's see, pull one up here. Oh, here's a good one.
Froggy.
Expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is like a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you're a vegetarian.
Nice. And then Adam, you're currently muted in case you started speaking the moment I said your name without realizing. Or you might have zonked out. Are you there, Adam? I'm going to assume he's zonked out. So remember, everyone, the National Museum of African American History says that if you believe that you should work before playing and that you have to work to achieve your goals, then you're clearly a white person. Doesn't matter what your skin tone is. If you believe that, that is whiteness. Because apparently black people and other minorities don't believe in working before play and don't believe in having to work for your goals. They believe in just being given them. So I'll leave off with my standard of if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, have a good night, all. The zoo is closed.
good night.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good night, all. Now let me wake my mouse up so I can click out. Good night.